when you have this much lore and this much backstory to fill, essentially it relies on the fans to create the stories. But because it's not official, it's never going to happen. And that is profoundly the most disappointing thing, especially for the fandoms. Well, now they're just a thing that we play, and any history or development they could have had is gone, and we're never going to get that back. Hi, my name is Will, and today we're reacting to Flats' video, Overwatch could have had a Netflix series. Let's see what he has to say about that.
You're not going to believe this. So there's an AMA that just came out, and I haven't looked at it yet. We're going to look at it in a minute. But there's also this tweet that came out from Overwatch Calvary that's from the AMA. And it says an Overwatch 2 series was reportedly in development with Netflix. Jason Schreider suggests the plans changed after Activision Blizzard sued Netflix in 2020 for poaching of its CFO. I gotta read this AMA.
That's terrible.
It's on r/wow. And I'm Jason Schreider, reporter at Bloomberg and the author of Play Nice, The Rise and Fall and Future of Blizzard Entertainment, AMA. Hi, I'm Jason Schreider. You may know me as I work at Bloomberg, my podcast Triple Click, or my books Blood, Sweat, and Pixels, and Press Reset. I got a new book coming out on October 8th that's very relevant to this interest. It's called Play Nice, The Rise, Fall, and Future of Blizzard Entertainment, and it chronicles the entire 33-year saga of the company behind World of Warcraft.
Ooh, I'd probably get that book.
Beginnings as a porting company started by two UCLA students to its transformation into an empire, that it's reckoning with a sexual assault or sexual harassment scandal and absorption into Microsoft.
Damn, that's gonna be a
thick book. The book is based on interviews with more than 350 people, which is full of new stories and information that you've never heard before. For example, if you ever wondered why Blizzard was never able to put out WoW expansions more quickly despite promising to do so, and how that inability became the center of a massive battle between Blizzard and CEO Mike Morhaime and Activision CEO Bobby Kotick, this book will tell you the whole story. It does come off as like a promotion for his book, but
no,
like,
it absolutely is.
The guy's trying to get his bag, but
yeah,
it also has a lot of stories that people, if they put in the effort for this, like I'm not upset with that.
I'm pretty sure it's a lot of stuff that they got high behind.
Blizzard Gaming, including Vanilla WoW Classic, Okay, cool. So let's go through some of the questions in some of these.
Okay.
What is your biggest shock you learned about the company you didn't expect to hear? Oh my God, there are so many. The fact that Blizzard was briefly owned by a company called Sendant, which was investigated by the SEC for massive fraud, and whose CEO eventually went to jail, prosecuted naturally by Chris Christie. There were the sex parties. There was the time they got banned from a hotel. There was the Lennon/McCarthy-esque feud between Chris Metzen and Rob Pardo, and so...
No idea who those people are.
I'm not even gonna fucking say it, but like, I know where everyone's brain just went after they read this fucking sentence right here. Dude, what the is with the people in LA and this shit, man?
Hey, don't blame LA for this.
A single mountain
we just have problems.
Earned money. There's more money than StarCraft 2. Revenue, no chance. Profit, maybe. Being made up numbers. If StarCraft 2 cost 10 million to make and brought in revenue of 15, isn't this from like a Pirate Software Thor clip? Revenue of 15 million, while the mount cost 1,000 to make and it brought in revenue of 5,999,000, then the mount made more profit than StarCraft 2. But I don't know. Though there's all sorts of funky accounting tricks that these companies use to determine stuff like this. The idea of a single mount making more than StarCraft 2 seems like an urban legend, especially given that StarCraft 2 had 3 different expansions and then went free to play. Isn't this a... Yeah, it is. Okay, I knew I wasn't crazy because I've heard that too. Which,
and about mounts or
I'm inclined to agree that it's true, especially with the profit. Especially revenue, I see his point. Is like revenue is very different than profit, right? Because like revenue is how much money it made overall, period, before you take into account like
expenses,
costs of labor, and you know what I mean, like
advertising,
the actual makings of the game. While the cost
overhead
of making a skin is probably so much smaller, right? It's maybe a couple artists and then people who actually code it, test it, make sure it functions in the game, and put it out. And the expenses are much lower. So the profit can be much higher. So
absolutely, because you don't need a huge team to do so.
Potentially true. Hey, Jason, are you able to share any details of the string of high-profile departures from Team 4 before Overwatch 2 shipped, like Jeff Kaplan and Sony Chacko? And if its new leads like Aaron Keller and Jared Nuss have more freedom post-acquisition, since I recall you mentioning that Bobby was breathing down their necks a lot during Overwatch 1. Also,
he was?
For a WoW-focused question, do you know where the impetus to do a 3 expansion saga came from? It's a welcome change, IMO, but Blizzard has generally focused on self-contained stories that have some breadcrumbing to the next expansion near the end. Yes, this is covered extensively in the book, but here's the short version. Overwatch 1 was a huge success.
It was.
Bobby Kotick was thrilled about it. So thrilled, in fact, that he asked the board of directors to give Mike Morhaime a standing ovation during one meeting.
Oh, that's
Dude,
nice.
why is this guy just a fucking supervillain?
No, he is.
A
He's
standing
absolutely. I mean, it's a
ovation
nice
in
thing to
meeting?
do, but it's like
You
bittersweet.
know, you know, like those fucking stories that someone tells, and then there's always that guy in the comments like, yeah, everyone, and then everyone got up and clapped. He actually, unironically, asked the whole room to get up and clap.
Terrible.
But following Overwatch 1's release, Team 4 began to run into a bit of a problem. They had too much work to do. They had
really?
it simultaneously, one, keep making new stuff for Overwatch 1,
Which we probably don't have a big enough
almost
team.
accidentally turned into a live service game.
Oh yeah.
Two, work on Overwatch 2, which was Jeff Kaplan's baby, and would have brought more players into the universe via PvE. Yep.
Yeah, that
the,
failed.
The whole PvE thing was Overwatch 2. To this day, some people don't realize that. Like, they still argue with it. Overwatch 2 was the PvE. It's not what
So the whole reason why he even came with the 2 and why they abandoned it for the time that they did is like, oh, it's gonna be PvE, and here's the chain, here's the ladder, and here's all the things. Here's the branches that you're gonna do where you could expand on this character, and I poured over those things for that. Like, I looked over, like, 76 being able to get like 2 health packs, and Junkrat being able to get even more bombs and more explosions. There was a whole bunch of stuff that I looked over, and I was like, okay, how do you min-max all this stuff? This was what it was going to be about, PvE. This is why we have the story missions. It's PvE, and it failed because they canceled it.
what it is today, but originally that's what it was. Wasn't Overwatch 1 a live service game?
No.
No. Actually,
You
it
had to
never
pay for
intended
it.
to be a live service game. Overwatch 1 was intended to come out and then have a few updates, release a few characters, and then they were just going to leave it. But it was such a success that they kind of had to start get the wheels going.
It essentially became like LOL
game because there was such a demand for it. But it actually originally was not supposed to get a lot of updates. And then number 3, help out with the ever-growing Overwatch League. Ever-growing my ass.
No, that was a fire.
Kotick's solution to this problem. Oh, so actually, sorry, to talk on that.
Yeah, let's talk about League.
Again, Overwatch League actually is another big part of that, right? Because like you have to keep the game moving and always updating and to like bring in new content and stuff like that. Because like they wanted to turn it into a league. Remember, Overwatch League was being made in 2017. The game came out in 2016, so it had its explosive year of 2016, and then they never planned to be a long-term thing. But then it was such a success that they were like, we should turn this into an esport, and they were going to force the esport thing. And then that was probably around the time where they also decided, oh yeah, we have to just keep releasing content. Like we got to keep this shit going. So then it turns into a live service game at that point because they're also forcing the esport. Like there's like a lot of different things, I bet. And that's probably also why he also says here's the short version. And I bet in the book whenever he releases it is probably a lot more detailed on that. That's at least from what my understanding is. Kotick's solution to this problem was to suggest that Team 4 hire more people.
Well, yeah, that would make sense. Hire more people, they
why
could
am
make
I
more stuff.
agreeing with Bobby Kotick? That's not good.
That's just common
Hundreds
sense,
more
though.
People. Like his Call of Duty factory. Okay, that's kind of weird.
Well, he has
Start a
3 different
second
studios to
team
do that.
To work on Overwatch 2 while the old team works on Overwatch 1. Wait.
Again, this is making sense.
Or vice versa. Kaplan and Chako Sunny were resistant to this because they believed pretty strongly in the culture they'd built. More people can sometimes lead to more problems and less efficient development, and it led to all sorts of problems as the years went on. Why am I agreeing with Bobby? Oh, that's so bad.
I don't like it, but it makes sense.
I see his point, right? Like but not when you were going to make 2. Like if you had to keep 1 going and you were going to make 2, you need more people.
Yeah.
Like any business understands that. Like
yes.
if you grow.
I think it's mostly just
you
Blizzard
expand.
culture.
Clock is correct twice a day.
It's a 300 bid. The worst person you know makes a good point.
Yeah, that's never a good thing. We're like, oh no.
Any business knows this. Like if I own a restaurant, right? And my restaurant's a booming success and I want to open a second restaurant.
Well, you got to hire more
I
people.
can't just take all the people at my first one and split them in 2 and then that's it. Like you lose half your wait staff and you lose half your cooks and your line cooks and your people working your books and all this other stuff. Like, dude, like maybe the management side, like accounting and stuff like that, they could probably do 2. Be a little bit more work, yeah, but like You can't have half the wait staff. You can't have half the chefs. Food's gonna take longer. It's gonna be longer lines. It's gonna be a piece of shit. Like, you need to bring in more people once you go to the second one.
Yes.
Right? Oh no, that's real bad.
No.
Especially if Jeff was obviously set on making Overwatch 2, because it sounds like Overwatch 2 was Jeff's idea.
So he was just gonna leave it for a little bit, which is what they did, and then ended up becoming horrible and
There's no
failing.
world where they could have kept Overwatch 1 afloat and worked on Overwatch 2. We were there. It didn't happen. Work. That's kind of sad. I hate that the worst person I know just made a good point.
God damn it.
I actually kind of agree that they should have done that probly.
Probably would have been a different
Blood,
timeline.
Sweat, and Pixels plus press reset. I evangelicalize those books to everyone. Got my physical pre-order for Play Nice ready to go. Is the Final Fantasy Tactics / Remaster Remake dream still alive? FTT or FFT Remaster is real. I just have no idea when it's coming. Hopefully next year to pair with the Lunar and Suikoden remasters for the ultimate PS1 nostalgia trip. I don't know anything about Final Fantasy Tactics, but okay, cool. Guess there's a remake for that. Was it difficult to get people to talk about their experiences at Blizzard? Any particular subject that was easier or harder to get people to talk about? Also, how willing were the people at Activision side to talk for the book? I would say the more recent the event, the harder it was to get people to talk on record.
Oh yeah.
Which makes sense if you think about it. Nobody's really worried about someone going after them because they spilled the beans on what it was like in Silicon Synapse in 1991. And yeah, I spoke to a bunch of Activision folks, although most were off the record. Same sort of trend applies. That makes sense. I mean,
Yeah, just keep everything off the record.
The world is a lot smaller than you think, and especially in a world like gaming. If you my advice to my younger people, my people that are maybe not in college or college age or going to college soon.
Oh no, I'm old.
The world fucking sucks, man.
Mm-hmm.
It blows.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're somebody that doesn't get straight A's, that's okay.
Even then,
because in this world, many times it's not what you know.
It's how you know.
It's who you know.
Oh yeah.
And there's a lot of companies and a lot of people that would rather work with the guy who's just the fun dude to be around. He's a fun dude.
And also keeps their mouth shut.
He's not the best, but he gets his work done passably. But he's just nice, sociable dude, friends with a lot of people. You know, everyone looks at him as a good dude. Then the really fucking smart but uptight kind of annoying dude. And the reason for that is just compatibility. And the reason why I'm saying that that's relevant here is because even in gaming, in that space, a lot of devs know each other. They know of each other. And so word can travel fast. And so you don't want to get on the bad side of somebody else or be heard of or being known as talking shit about some other developer or some higher up in another company because you might not get hired somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I kind of understand why they don't want to go on the record and say that because nobody wants to be outed as someone who like snitched on someone else on another side or whatever it might be.
And that's easy. Just go off the record. Be anonymous.
I can't even blame anyone for not wanting to go on record for that because I wouldn't either.
No.
Are you aware of any internal reluctance to internally put out WoW Classic, or did much of the workforce want to release it? But where was held back a lack of by a lack of interest from executive folks like J. Allen Brack seemed quite dismissive about the desires to release it originally. I remember that they said that what was it? I quote something like, "Gamers think they want this game, but they actually don't." Yeah,
Isn't this when we were releasing remasters and people were like loving it? That makes sense. This is money printing.
Being a fair bit of interest, IMO, those various fans and content creators. It's always a question of resources, right? If X people are working on WoW Classic, that means they can't work on anything else. But I haven't heard anything about a ton of reluctance from Brack to greenlight the project, despite his infamous comments at BlizzCon that one year. Yep, that's the one I was just talking about. I think as Nostalarius really took off, they had a lot of conversations internally about what WoW Classic would be like. A guy named Omar Gonzalez built a prototype. They brought in lead engineer Brian Birmingham to helm the project, and it was just a small team working on it for a few years to try and figure out the best way to handle the technical challenges that came.
Oh yeah, things have changed since then.
Okay, it's kind of cool. You know what's kind of cool is he probably said that, and he might have actually thought that way, and then the public responded like, "Holy, you're kind of an idiot! Like, that's stupid."
Yeah.
And then might have actually changed his stance internally and was like, "No, I'm actually not against it. Okay, if you want that, we'll do it." Can we address the fact that recent was r/mercy mains? You know what this is? You know what? I remember what this is. Remember during the Pink Mercy thing?
Oh, God.
This is the last time I've used Reddit.
Oh, wow.
It was Pink Mercy. Remember the whole Pink Mercy thing? And there was a whole subreddit that had all the stuff, like all the info on how they got it early. You guys were there.
Wow.
It was literally a video.
I remember that.
Okay. As it seems quite related to your book, which I pre-ordered, patch 9.1.5 was released shortly after Blizzard's sexual harassment scandals came to light. Featured a wide assortment of sudden changes. Multiple voice/joke/flirt lines were removed. In-game artwork that was vaguely sexual and
Deception
was edited.
Oh, deception.
The infamous painting of a woman laid on her side into a bowl of fruit painting.
Oh, yeah, that one.
Various other strings of dialogue changed throughout the game. Was this a knee-jerk reaction from Blizzard higher-ups, desperate to ensure that nothing within the game could be used against them? Or did this reflect elements of the game that the WoW dev team had been uncomfortable with for some time and finally had the autonomy to alter these?
That's a
Well,
good
I had
question.
no idea. It's a response. I'll ask a couple of folks about this if I get a chance, but knowing what I know about how Blizzard functions, I assume those decisions were made on a Team 2 level, not a Blizzard C-suite level. Executive producers, and after a recent reorg,
I don't think they really care about
GMs
that. They're
now have
so
a lot
high
of
up.
power in the company to make calls about their games and their team's resources. Wait, there's actually something interesting in there. After a recent reorg, GMs have a lot of power in the company to make calls about their games and their team's resources. I wonder if that's true for all of them. Excited to read this. My question is, what would be the sense you got about us players, or how your players are viewed internally at Blizzard? Like, you did get a read from anyone that has such a passionate player base, both valid and invalid, in our complaints from time to time, is viewed and managed internally at the company. I mean, Blizzard's whole ethos to be a player first, and I do take that seriously. From what I've heard, and they do take that seriously. That's good.
That's good.
From what I've heard, folks use BlizzCon every year as fuel to get them through hard times.
Yeah, but they canceled that
It
now.
was so exhilarating to see Blizzard fan reactions to all their game announcements and community events. That said, there are also a few stories in the book about players having a negative impact on Blizzard, such as a chapter about the development of Diablo 3. I spoke to director Jay Wilson about how the harassment affected his life. It's an ugly, ugly story.
Oh, that's gonna be
That's actually really sad.
Yeah, no,
I've
it's
said
sad.
this so
It's gonna
many
be a good
times.
read, but that's gonna be
every
sad.
time I say this, like, I call the fucking shill, and it's like, dude, you guys don't know what a shill is, you dumb. But anyways, like, you can tell, I've met so many people at Blizzard, at least on the Overwatch side, and a lot of them really do care. Like, the actual dev team, like the people who work on the game, genuinely give so much of a shit. It hurts, I think, them to see when people say, like, nah, you guys suck, you don't actually care. And it's like,
That is,
how
that's
do you
they just
think
care
they
about
don't
more about
care?
money.
Like, yeah, not every decision you can agree with. Yeah, they can fuck up. Yeah, other shits gets in the way. But it's like, overall, they do care. But there are still serious issues. And that doesn't mean you should disregard those serious issues. But then also people take it so far and then harass individual devs. And you know what, though? There's even people in Overwatch that do that. And that shit is not acceptable. Like,
No.
and harassing individual devs, like, you can criticize the work, but once you go after the person, like, you've crossed so many lines. Like, you are literally an asshole for that.
No,
And
absolutely.
it's like, they don't deserve that, dude. Like, they work on a fucking video game. Like, they work on a fucking video game. Like, they're not taking your damn rights away. Like, if you want to get mad at people that do that, you should do that. Like, I feel
Yeah.
like if there's any place to go fucking do that for, that's a place you should go crazy for. But it's like, dude, my heart always breaks a little bit when I hear about stories with people like this, because what the fuck did his wife and kids do, or his family?
Oh, yeah,
do?
when they
I
would
mean,
go after
didn't
their
do
family
shit.
for some
They
reason,
don't
that's
deserve to
stupid.
be harassed, and their family doesn't deserve to be harassed.
No, especially
like
over a
in
video
Overwatch,
game.
We had it with Briggs' voice actor.
Yeah.
Voice actor, when Brig was destroying the game in Overwatch 1.
It somehow was her fault? It's like, how?
Everyone went after her voice actor. Like, people were like, the voice actor is responsible. Like,
No, they're
how
not.
motherfucking stupid are you?
Very.
Like, how actually dumb do you have to be to genuinely believe that? I've been playing since the Wrath days, around the time Activision Blizzard merger that took place in 2008 and 2010. They released first Stormount, the Celestial Steed. This feels like it was a watershed moment, because it feels like the Celestial Steed was something Blizzard would not have done, but was something Activision's influence caused them to do. And it seemed to be followed by many other corner cuts, arguably culminating in Warlords of Draenor, which famously cut so many features from what was promised while selling basically any unique mounts in the shop. I guess was it basically not selling any unique mounts in the shop, is what they meant? Do you have any insight on that period of time, or when how the influence of Activision began to overtake classic Blizzard sensibles? This is a great question. As far as I know, the answer is no. It was Blizzard, not Activision. To put things in context a little bit, in 2009 and 2010 was an interesting time for Blizzard. World of Warcraft was firing on all cylinders and growing every year.
Yep.
But their other projects weren't quite as successful. StarCraft 2 had to slip a year because the new Battle.net was not ready, while Diablo 3 had gone through multiple reboots. And Blizzard's North's collapse. And it was still years away. Blizzard's North's collapse and was still years away.
I think that was like one of the studios,
reboots.
right?
Sorry, I lost it for a sec. People were still jazzed about Titan, but we all know how that one went.
Yeah, it became Overwatch
but
too.
Server costs were high, and the company was growing more and more every year. So Mike Morhaime started to push all of the teams to include some sort of in-game monetization. WoW had cosmetics, StarCraft 2 has a customizable map marketplace, and Diablo 3 would have had the auction house. Fun fact, one of the reasons Diablo 3 never got a second expansion was because after removing the auction house, it no longer had a source of recurring revenue. So Blizzard decided to move straight to D4 rather than to make any new content for it. The merger undoubtedly came with new pressures because now, rather than just being a small part of Vendi, Blizzard was now one of the two names in the title of a publicly traded company.
So they can have anything.
That had to come with an impact on Morhaime's decision making. But this push for in-game revenue did not, as I know, come from Activision or Kotick. The pressures from Activision really started in 2013 after Titan was canceled and trickled all the way down to the entirety of the company around 2017, 2018. Wow. And that's when our problems started.
Yep. No, that's when our
Damn,
stuff started going bad.
I think the rest of these are probably more WoW than Overwatch. Oh, here's one. In your book, part where one of the executives was disappointed on how Overwatch 1 was not charging for maps and characters, will your book discuss how Overwatch 2 came as a result from all the executive meddling? Yes, I think when you read the book, you'll have a very clear idea of what happened with Overwatch 2 and why it feels so much like a Overwatch 1.5.
Is it really like a 1.5? It just has more content and more maps. Really like basic expansion stuff.
I think we got the most important ones that are... Okay, you know what, though? Yeah, obviously he's pushing for reading a book, which I get it, and buying a book. I get it. He wants to.
I might actually buy the book. I don't read a lot, but I'm actually probably going to buy that.
That being said, though, I want to know where the Netflix article won, though.
Oh, yeah, the whole point of the story.
Where was the Netflix article? Any insight into why Blizzard hasn't branched into movie/TV/animation? Yeah, the 2016 Warcraft film happened, but it seems strange how in the 20-plus years of WoW and even longer of Blizzard's story...
That was 8 years ago?
IPs, or Blizzard's the history of Blizzard's heavy story IPs, they've been increasingly light on expanding from games, WoW books, short-lived comic series, etc. Are they even trying at all? The book reveals that they had series in development with Netflix for Warcraft, Overwatch, and Diablo, but and then it's a link to them getting sued.
Oh,
Netflix sued again for poaching, this time by Activision Blizzard. Holy shit. I didn't see this one I was scrolling through here. I mean, it's the whole reason I came here was for that one. But holy shit, the fact that we could have had an Overwatch Netflix series and it got canceled and ruined over a poaching of a CFO, and so they sued him. Dude, that's crazy.
That cost them a lot of money.
That pretty much means that there'll never be a Netflix series, right?
No. And who are you going to go with?
Hi, Jason. I love the chapter you wrote on Press Reset on the 38 Studios, the Kurt Schilling debacle. I saw a tweet from you a few months ago about Kurt Schilling going full on at some point in the last few years. Have you heard of other people in companies research your books similarly on the strange afterlives? Looking forward to the book. If you told me in 2017 when I published Blood, Sweat, and Pixels in 2014 Eric Byron would still be working on Stardew Valley, well, I probably wouldn't have been surprised, but it's still a pretty wild thought. I actually have met Kurt Schilling's daughter when I was in early college, late high school. I have never met someone that made me so uncomfortable my entire life. Like when I tell you the definition of do you know who my dad is? I'll just say this. There was one time that I was at somebody's house and they were having a party, they were drinking, pool party, a lot of people there. And she showed up and got absolutely hammered, wanted to go home, and everyone's like, you can't just drive home, you can't do that. And she literally went bananas and was literally screaming you don't know who I am. Like,
Nobody gives a
you're all
shit.
poor, like, compared to me, all this shit.
Nobody gives a shit.
And then literally got in her Mercedes and drove home, absolutely shit-faced.
Did she make
and then
it?
wanted to come back again.
Stupid.
And
No.
it was like,
no fighting.
It was truly, like, she thought she had the right to anyone at that. Like, I remember she, like, literally, like, grabbed one of my friends by the hand, like, literally trying to, like, drag him in the house. And he was like, I'm fucking good. Like, I'm all set. Like, it was, oh, man. So,
Some people's children.
am I that surprised by this? Not really. Hi, Jason. Loving the thread and reply so far. What was the most surprising interaction you ever had with Blizzard executives? Were there any higher ups for you that really stood out with their behavior, either positive or negative? Nothing comes to mind for Blizzard, but once at an E3, I was in a hotel elevator and saw someone who was at the time higher up at Bungie, no
Ooh.
longer there. And he was like, "Oh, you're staying here too?" And then kind of turned his back to me. Then he blocked me on Twitter. I still don't know what I did to him.
Oh, that's funny. That's stupid. That's very petty. Oh, you're here.
I
They
don't
let
know
you
why
in here.
that's so funny, but that's just so funny. Like, oh, you're here? And then, like, turning around, like, facing the other way. Like,
That's
in
a
real life,
child's
it's like,
attitude
what?
right there. Not an executive.
Farted in
Not
the
a higher
elevator,
up.
maybe? Dude, I feel like if I had one ready to go, I'm ripping it at that point. Real
God
talk.
damn it.
Anyways, though, damn. We actually really could have had a Netflix series. That's tough.
That's unfortunate. But I have no idea what they could do afterwards. Like, it has a lot of lore. Now it seems they're eliminating it specifically to only them being able to produce things in-house. But we are seeing how Overwatch is treating, or how Blizzard is treating Overwatch in general. They're not producing anything. The last short that the last cinematic they released was the one for like Kiriko, and now they have kinda one for Juno, but it's essentially just drawn, and that's not what we're used to. We're used to the 3-dimensional stuff. We're used to all of this effort and work put into it, and we haven't gotten anything. We had the Junker Queen one, we had the Kiriko one, and now everything that we see that's essentially like kind of cinematic is just advertising for skins, and that's the disappointing part. Is we got a taste of it. We had a taste of what it was going to be like when they had their 3 episode drops that they had involving the Omnic Crisis. A little bit, a glimpse, a tiny thing, but that was like mostly for the PvE event that was going to be coming out. That ended up failing anyway, just because, you know, it wasn't going to sell because people were angry about it. And even when they did release it, there was such little in it that it was like not even worth the purchase price. Like, I spent $15. I bought the thing. Like, I bought it when it came out. I haven't touched it since. Right? And I want to like get the stickers, right? But like, that's not a big enough incentive for me to do things. And that's disappointing. Because you have so many characters. You have 41 characters right now. That you can create so much deep, enriching lore into it. And the interactions is all we have now. The things they say to each other between the matches, the things they say before the start of the matches, and the things they say when they, you know, ended up killing each other and beating them. That's all we get now. And hopefully it changes one day. How it went with the merger between Microsoft and them, and how they fired a lot of people, and how they're kind of starting to bring back a little bit of it. I don't know. But in terms of like having a Netflix series, that's never going to happen. Unless, you know, something happens with Microsoft or whatever that causes it to be able to go to set, you know, to essentially make it be water under the bridge. Because they messed up. They ended up seeing what was it? LOL? No, yeah, what League turned into, right? Because we have Vi and Jinx and all of them in the series, and I think they're going to be releasing their next season like next year or this year. I have no idea. But that is literally what it became. And Cyberpunk even had their own anime series, and I think it's still going on. I'm not 100%. But when you have this much lore and this much backstory to fill with so many characters and so many reactions, that it's never going to happen now. Essentially, it relies on the fans to create the stories. But because it's not official, it's never going to happen. So you'll always be left there wanting and wondering what's going to happen. And that is profoundly the most disappointing thing, especially for the fandoms. We don't care about the skins. We care about these characters. They're not real, but they matter to us. We play them, we master them, we get better at them. And now it seems like, well, now they're just a thing that we play, and any history or development they could have had is gone, and we're never going to get that back. My name has been Will. I'll see you guys in the next video.